Hey everybody, welcome to the Canary News Talk live stream pre-stream. Just taking a second, waiting for everybody to show up. Let's see here. I suppose now is the time. I should send out the text message. As usual, folks, if you are waiting for a notification on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, come in from those big tech platforms, whether it is fifth generational warfare keeping you from the truth or just sketchy technology, whatever the case may be, there may come a time when you will not receive a notification from your preferred big tech master that the show is going live. Well, in that case, we have the Canary Cry text message alert system. It's very easy. Don't worry. We take absolutely no information. All you got to do is text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's 877-740-3226. The word is Canary. Okay, I'm seeing somebody at this exact moment messing with me. Folks, if you want to get on the list, you have to text the word Canary. It's an automated system. I cannot add you to the list. If you say something, for instance, hypothetically, if you text 877-740-3226 and you say, sign me up, boys, that will not get you on the list. You need to type Canary. All right. Other than that, I think it's getting ready. Time to start the show. I want to give a shout out to anybody who is finding the show through SGT Report. That's right. Last night, Gons was on the SGT hanging out. Very cool. Hope you guys caught that. And if you found our show through that, welcome. You're going to like it. We got a nice minor boost over there on Rumble. Although, I hope Rumble works. Rumble wasn't working before. I'm not sure if Rumble is working right now, but we'll find out. All right, let's get the show started. What's up to Brother G on D Live, Sandra on YouTube, Gaily Mac YouTube, Nana, Rami, May, Dadalorian's here, Echo 26, Daniel, Estimating 1, Discovering 3, Santa Wears Brown on Twitch, of course. All right, go right now. Tweet out this link. Put this link, just post it, no explanation, on your social media. People are waiting. Their destiny awaits. All right, let's get the show started.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is December 13th, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 698. And today, artificial insanity. And signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil. And you are not crazy.
Well, maybe we're just artificially crazy. And my name is Gons, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from California to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomenon. Watchmen do what watchmen do, I guess.
I guess. Nothing like a hesitant emergent phenomenon.
Well, it's more of a matter of fact kind of thing around here.
You know, your comment about artificially crazy, that is actually, it took my brain a second to catch up a little bit, but that is a bit of a theme here. Remember, if you're feeling crazy, it is because they are doing everything in their power through their fifth generational war to make you feel crazy. So keep that in mind as we go along. But first, we must give the disclaimer.
Oh, yes, very important.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up.
YouTube. That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. And let me give you a rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Well, we're going to be starting out with Occult, folks, and if you're new to the show, you better get used to it. A prediction made just a few weeks ago that seemed so far off, 1 year, 2 years, maybe even 5 years, only took a couple of weeks. And Canary Cry, you listeners, you knew it first. Then we'll be checking in with Flippy and some space damage. Then checking in with World War III, fifth generational warfare. The war is not in Ukraine or Gaza. The war is everywhere, according to Bloomberg. Then we'll be having an update on David Grush. It's almost like David Grush heard us talking about him and decided to go on and answer some questions. Then at the end of the show, Rothschild Island down there in Antarctica, just dipping our snoot in that piece of information. But first, Gons, our lead story.
Called it.
The canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, so the setup here is that back before episode 676.
Ooh, baby's going early.
Like this.
Baby's going
coming in hot
early
today. Yeah. By the way, it's me, my son, and Cody, the dog, all alone in a house trying to podcast. So it's today's
babysitting is sporadic right now, but progress is being made, folks. Embrace these moments now when the child is screaming on the show. Cherish it, because someday it will be gone. And just like when a child grows up and moves off to college, sometimes they get a babysitter and they don't become a recurring character on the podcast.
Very good. Okay, so episode 676 back on October 11th. So prior to that, we had reported on the University of Exeter having a new program, a master's in magic and occult sciences. And we have the link straight to the website there. It's an interdisciplinary expertise that you can build, exploring your specific interests within the long and diverse history of esotericism, witchcraft, ritual magic, occult science, and related topics. And you get to go to field trips too. Did you remember that part? That was really exciting. These guys get to go look at things.
It's good. I love field trips. And notably in the mainstream articles, of course, they're not saying you can become an actual witch or you will learn how to ceremonially sabotage your enemies or anything like that. It's a scholarly program.
Well, it says right here, it's the graduate with the skills to and knowledge needed to influence and drive business strategies that make a positive contribution to the environment and society. Of course, that's all fluff there, but drive business strategies, influence and drive business strategy. That's the goal.
The scholarly study of myth-making, magic, the occult throughout history and modern practice in order to become a member of society, a professional occultist.
Right.
And, it didn't happen at the moment. 675, I'm assuming, was when we covered the story. Excuse me. Are you talking? I hear something in my ear.
Yeah, well, I was trying to say that the reporting of the school and the program was maybe 1 or 2 episodes before the clip we have here of 676.
That's what I was talking about. So 675, 674, I think it was 75. We covered the story. It was fun. But it just kept lingering. The idea that this was a thing kept lingering and the questions echoing in our heads. Why? Why, oh, why is this a thing?
Yep.
And it occurred to me at night, in the middle of the night. Why would they be trying to create an industry for sort of myth-making, occultic knowledge, things like that? And it dawned on me in the middle of the night. And so what rarely happens is I actually remembered to bring it up the next show, which is such a miracle of God that it occurred to us to actually talk about it again. Because, of course, everybody knows on this show, everything moves so fast. Yeah. It's hard to slow down and, put out theories about things that happened an episode or two ago. But I think we have the clip just to remind everybody about what exactly was predicted.
Yes. So I have a clip here, a couple minutes from episode 676. It's edited down, and it's the tail end of us talking about the strange footage of a man who fell into the void.
Oh, right.
In the
9/11 memorial.
Right. And he was all bloody and the whole thing. And we were talking about that. And then it goes into bringing up that conversation that we were talking about here a second ago.
Ritualistic in nature. Right. It had a very strange sort of vibe to it.
Right. So here it is, edited and the punchline.
According to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum website, each pool descends 30 feet into a basin and drops 20 more feet into a, quote, central void.
I told you, man, it's a portal. It's the portal to the abyss. If you really want to see the lizard people, you can't just walk in through the front door.
You got to take the portal.
Through the portal.
Take the portal at the bottom, the foundation of a mass traumatic event.
Yeah,
I mean, that
bloodshed. Bloodshed being open portals. That's an entire field of research that you can jump into that seems very biblical, blood crying out from the ground, things of that nature. So
yeah. And again, back to the fact that we should have honorary masters from Exeter University.
I know.
Magic and the occult. In any occult worldview, that memorial would be an incredibly powerful magical
I was going to say, they probably are going to start doing a lot more of this so that the university has something to talk about.
To analyze. Yeah. I know. Here's the thing, Gons. What purpose does it serve to create scholars in any obscure topic? Yeah, any field, especially obscure ones. You're like, why does this even exist? Why get a degree in this? And it's to create not just the individuals, but the industry for analysis. Yeah. This will be a thing. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not be 2 years, might be 5 years, might be 10 years. But eventually we're going to be getting these professional scholars in magic and the occult going on CNBC. They're going to be analysts.
They're going to break down the symbolism, kind of like how we were doing 2013 or whatever. It'll be commercialized, and so therefore it's not going to obviously carry the message of Christ as a default. So
now, as the age of reenchantment continues, where even atheists are beginning to live highly ritualistic, sort of anciently religious lifestyles, we are moving out of the age of rationalism into reenchantment. And so magic and occult analysis on anything is going to become popular and mainstream in the same way, Gons, that weird alien talk, angels, demons, conspiracy theories, all this stuff has moved from the obscure corners of the internet into the mainstream. We're going to see the same thing with magic and occult analysis. I'm putting it in the red book.
Yep. That's like shooting fish in a barrel, at least around here.
All right, there you go. Shooting fish in a barrel.
We're a fun little edit. The good old days.
The good old days.
October 11th, 2023.
So November 29th. What is that? 50 days later? Something like that.
Did you say it was November 29th?
Was the day of the publishing of NPR.org.
Okay.
media
Okay.
coverage
November
of the Trump
29th
movement.
will come up again later in the show. Very interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so November 29th, media coverage of Trump movement is missing vital context, a podcast version of On the Media, featured somebody named Jeff Sharlet. He's the author of The Undertow, Scenes from a Slow Civil War, argues that Trump's narratives of martyrdom, a persecuted in-group, a mysterious out-group, and a rhetoric of violence are all hallmarks of fascism.
Yeah. Now, real quick, for those who don't know, because we might not have a very sort of devoted NPR listening audience here.
Sure, yeah.
But On the Media, long-running, sort of very prestigious sort of NPR show. This is, and of course, it's a radio show that they then throw on podcast platforms. But this has been going on for a while. It's a very popular NPR show. And is in essence a news outlet. Lots of people go to On the Media, and the description of On the Media is this: the Peabody Award-winning On the Media podcast is your guide to examining how the media sausage is made. Host Brooke Gladstone examines threats to free speech and government transparency, cast a skeptical eye on media coverage of the week's big stories, and unravel hidden political narratives in everything we read, watch, and hear.
Has that always been the thing for On the Media? Or is that like a new?
No. This is On the Media. This is what it is. It's a news show. They basically do news deconstruction or construction on NPR, but it's very geared towards sort of the leftist NPR liberal type of people. Yeah. So, anywho, for those who didn't know, I mean, it's an award-winning, big deal show. Started on the radio, of course. So just so you know, we're not pulling it from some sort of obscure NPR student project.
Right. So in this episode that Jeff Sharlet was featured on, they were breaking down a Trump speech. And it was, we'll just play some of it in context to Ashley Babbitt here is what they're talking about. You'll hear the hostess set it up and then...
And this is news. This was
this news.
Trump speech just happened. It was the talk of the town a couple weeks ago. Everybody was talking about this speech. It was on every mainstream place. And so it popped up here. Here they are examining the news.
So you say that Trump has always strived to create martyrs. Back in 2017, when he was president, he said that the wounded GOP Congressman Steve Scalise took a bullet for all of us when he was shot in the hip by someone who professed to be a Trump hater at a congressional baseball practice. But you say that Ashley Babbitt, who was killed as she stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, was, quote, processed, made productive almost immediately after her death, transformed right away into yet another flag, like a new tarot card in the deck of fascism, where it joined Gadsden, the coiled snake on yellow, and the Blue Lives Matter flag.
When I saw Ashley Babbitt, white woman, led a mob, climbed up through a broken window, and a Capitol Hill police officer shot her and killed her. So we saw only the hands of the officer, and is a black man. And I understood immediately, as a student of American mythology and history, this is the lynching story. Innocent white womanhood killed by a black man. This is the template of Hollywood. You go back to The Birth of a Nation, one of the most influential movies of all time, 1915, based on a novel called The Klansman. It's a positive story about the Ku Klux Klan, and a white woman flees from a dangerous black man and jumps over a cliff and dies, and thus the Klan must ride to avenge her. Ashley Babbitt was such a productive martyr because she's wearing an American flag outfit, kind of. She's the only woman in this crowd, but she's really fierce and tough. She's also a veteran. And I started traveling around the country, watching the myth in formation. Who Ashley Babbitt was doesn't matter to them.
There you go. You still there, Basil?
So I couldn't tell if the clip ended or if my Skype was stalled out.
Yeah, no, it was just the end of the clip. So there you go. That's Jeff Sharlet talking about that Trump speech and creating or talking about the conversation of Trump building mythology, creating martyrs. These are all things that we've discussed on this show in terms of how politics works, how a lot of the institutions and advertising and how, the left have basically done the same thing, creating martyrs. I mean, the whole Me Too movement was a sort of a martyrdom type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and even more interestingly, he's using this sort of interest. Now, we'll get into Jeff Sharlet and who he is and what his education is and his type of thing. Now, the master's program for occult and magic is not yet, there's no graduates of it. So at this point, we're left with sort of proto-rogue occult and magic experts who are, who can be these experts. However, for the framing of this news show is, hey, we're going to talk about Trump's speech. It's in the news, but let's break it down in sort of mythological occult terms, because that's going to give us insight into, into what's really going on. We need to speak the language of mythology. We need to speak so people, will understand it in these terms. Well, I think maybe let's play the next clip, and then we can talk a little bit more.
Okay.
Given all the myth-making about Ashley, you looked into her life, and what did you find?
She documented her life very extensively, 8,000 tweets. She made a lot of videos. I found someone I think would surprise a lot of people. Ashley Babbitt from deep blue Southern California, kind of a beach person, votes for Obama twice, thinks he's the best president ever.
So how did she get from there to here? What was the turning point?
She talks about a houseless man in Southern California defecating on her front lawn, and the compassion she's tried to have in her life. She just says to hell with it. And Trump is right there with this story. You know what? That anger you feel, it's not anger. It's love for your country. You don't have to swim against the current. Give into the undertow. Let it take you out. Here's white supremacy is ready to carry you. And now she's got a leader and she's got a mythology, and it's so easy to go with it.
Now, if you remember in the first clip, they talk about Ashley Babbitt becoming a card in the tarot deck
card in the
of
tarot
American
deck.
mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Then they talk about the Gadsden flag. They talk about all these symbols. And of course, sigil and symbol magic is a huge part of chaos magic, sort of the most modern practice of the occult in the U.S. Or in the West, rather. And what Jeff is doing here, I mean, he is laying out piece by piece a worldview. He is dissecting the news from the worldview of, mythology, occult, and magic, and talking about Trump in a way that we have talked about Trump many times before, and that is as a chaos magician. He wields this power to almost instantly form mythology and gain, give it power through public attention. And as we know in chaos magic, the human will and the human attention on any particular symbol is what gives that symbol power. Now, that's what we talk about as weirdos who have been, researching the occult and public life for over 10 years now. And now, just weeks after learning about the occult and magic masters, which instantly spoke, that, hey, this is going to be a class of reporters, a class of journalists, a class of analysis going on to help everyone sort of understand what's going on in the world through these magical terms. And this whole thing branches off from the work we've done on Burning Man with Carl Teichrieb, Game of Gods, the Age of Reenchantment, that even the most sort of atheist or secular people are understanding the world in these symbolic, mythological, occult magic terms, and they're not really afraid of it. I mean, we've talked about witch talk, we've talked about these big movements.
Well, that's the thing. Sorry to cut you off, but just the mainstream at large has been doing this for a long time. I pulled up the 2017 Economist cover, the Trump tarot cards. Remember that? We've talked a lot about it.
Of course. It's been a huge topic of conversation for people who are interested in this stuff.
Right.
And, kind of take the time to analyze it, that this has been happening in the media for a long time. And it's just a matter of time before there's a professional class.
Right. But I also think that in the context of Trump, it's interesting because if you look at, I'm doing what they do in comparing Trump to Hitler. I know that's not the greatest comparisons to make, but I'm doing it I'm doing it in the sociological context of, when Hitler rose to power and everything, a lot of the criticisms was very geopolitically involved, obviously racially involved in a certain extent. But then the occult analysis of Hitler didn't really, as far as I understand, it was much, a few decades later when people were uncovering like, wait a minute, what was he reading? He was reading Blavatsky and, that kind of conversation about his more esoteric beliefs about everything that may have shaped what eventually, what everybody knows about his agendas of Nazism and all that. It's almost like they are front running it for Trump, saying like, no, we're going to establish that conversation as the institution. And because Trump's their Hitler, right? It's like the modern left Hitler. To the left, they're a Hitler authoritarian figure in America that has risen to power. So it makes sense that they would create that industry and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do the occult breakdowns of this Hitler-esque figure, just as Hitler had all these occult underpinnings to understand what was going on. We shall also understand Trump, in the same way, kind of thing. So.
Yeah. And, the sort of occult symbology has been in the media forever.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point.
Right. There's a lot of backlog.
The very idea of advertising was created by an occultist with occultist principles. The very economic basis of news media is an occult practice of advertising. And the interesting thing now is the direction that the sort of worldwide culture has been going in. It's come to a point where where sort of hiding it is no longer necessary or even sort of beneficial. At least in the West here, it's considered like scholarly, important work to break down just what's happening in the world in occult terms and mythological terms. And that's what this Jeff Sharlet guy, happens to be in a position where he's written books for years. He's been interested in this stuff for years, similar to how we have. And now it's kind of his moment to break out in this burgeoning occult expert, media deconstruction mainstream way.
Yeah, so Jeff Sharlet has his X account here, and he has a link to it's kind of like a mini bio, and it says Jeff Sharlet is the New York Times bestselling author or editor of 8 books, including The Family, The Secret Fundamentalism at the Heart of American Power, and that was the basis
The Family,
of the show.
by the way, which is a show that I have recommended. It's a show that I've talked about on this podcast.
That's what I
before.
thought. Yeah, I remember you talking about The Family, the Netflix show.
And I didn't know, I didn't know who Jeff Sharlet was. I couldn't have named, the producer of that film if you had a gun to my head. But the fact that he is
an executive producer, he's the executive producer of The Family, and it's based on his writings. So he's he's been doing work for a while now, but also he also has This Brilliant Darkness, A Book of Strangers. His new book, The Undertow, Scenes from a Slow Civil War, is, quote, journalism as art, attempting to capture the mood of the nation at this fraught moment that others in the future may know how it felt to live through the present, end quote, Washington Post. Meaning, the rise of fascism in the 21st century. Of
course,
Trump.
yes, it's all
living out the rise of fascism. I think he's in his position where he is because he rode the wave of fascism that rose in America. But You're blind if you're riding the wave. You can't see what's going on. So anyway.
Yeah.
And then I do want to mention just real quick. He has an Instagram account. I found this interesting video of the prayer hands. You know, the prayer hands on my hat. It's the same image, just carved out in 3D, and it's on some kind of display. And it's just a video of it rotating in front of a chicken barbecue sign. And Jeff Sharlet says, I tried to record the prayer hands' tune turning in front of the sign, but you couldn't hear it over the crickets and the road. So I put them on my dashboard and listened. I lack belief in the supernatural powers of prayer, but I appreciate prayer's resonances in the natural world. That is, its aesthetic power, even in musical prayer hands, especially in hands such as these, as intensely peculiar echo of the faith that made them, and maybe the faith that put them in a glass case at the treasure center, as free of irony as I am of the divine. I prefer things that the people who tend them. So yeah,
I think that there's a couple of things he says there that is actually really key and kind of unlocks a little bit of the details of what we're talking about as well.
Yeah,
it's not that necessarily, you know, the people in modern society. I mean, one example, witch talk, you know, all these young, mostly women getting into witchcraft and TikToking about it and stuff like this. Many of them will describe their practice of witchcraft as something called spicy psychology, which means it's sort of this secular recognition of theirs that, hey, yeah, I don't know, maybe magic like Harry Potter magic isn't real, but you know, I do it because it's helpful. I burn candles and worship the devil because it's good for my mental health, you know, stuff like that. Which, whether they believe it or not, I think is really a toss-up, if it even matters.
Yeah.
But he's kind of along the same way, saying like, oh, you know, I don't believe prayer has magical powers, but I believe in the magical powers you know, affecting the world or whatever, you know,
well,
having some sort of manifestation.
I think it's because also of where science is going and physics and cosmology and everything and the quantum stuff. There was an article, we didn't bring it to the show. It was a couple weeks ago. I thought about bringing it, but it had to do, I think it was like what is it? I forget, some science outlet, a big science outlet that covered it, but basically they were saying that there are studies that have been done where they looked at, I guess they're quantum moments, I guess, like, man, I should really pull the article out, but basically in the human brain, they measured moments where there is some kind of quantum entanglement happening in the synapses and stuff. So that kind of thing will create all kinds of opportunities for worldviews, different supernatural worldviews to just seep in, you know, where it's really just about how God designed us, you know, to connect with the spiritual realm. So interesting stuff.
Calling it supernatural is not, you know, if there is some connection between what we might call the supernatural having sort of natural explanations, which I think for most people does not necessarily exclude the principle of miracles. Like, just because there's a natural explanation doesn't mean that it isn't a miracle. And, you know, it's always been the worst argument from secularists and atheists, you know, when something miraculous happens, they just be like, oh yeah, well, splitting of the Red Sea, well, there's winds, the wind could have blown it, and that's not a miracle, that's so easy to explain. And the point, my kind of feeling, whether I'd be able to articulate it or not at the time, has been like, what are you talking about? Just because you don't think a great wind coming in and splitting an ocean in two isn't miraculous? Like, just because there's a way to physically explain what happened does not mean it's not miraculous. And I think that, you know, argument is so obvious, and it's been so unproductive for secularists, atheists to, you know, describe miracles this way, that they are required to sort of shift their worldview and shift their explanations of the miraculous, of the supernatural, of things like this, where now, they can talk about a supernatural worldview and how everybody, whether they like it or not, is experiencing the supernatural in their life. But, it's got, we have unknown science. The miracle is just unknown science. It's quantum stuff in the brain, and someday we'll understand, but we can still call it miraculous, which, honestly is good and bad in that it makes it easier to talk to them about stuff like this. But it may be sort of holding a soft barrier for, having productive conversations. But anywho, this Jeff Sharlet guy, I'm going to keep an eye on him. He's not necessarily like a full-time reporter guy. He's not a newsman. Like I said, I think he's sort of the proto model of the occult expert that will be brought in to explain the news in mythological terms, which I think is the world is craving that right now. That's kind of through our Burning Man research and our interviews and our surveys with Carl Teichribb's Camp of the Unknown God at Burning Man. I mean, really one of our biggest takeaways from that long series of research that we have. Go to burningmanresearch.com if you want to check out episode after episode after episode about this. But, sort of the point of it being, what? The secularists are living mythologically. They do have a supernatural worldview. Yeah. They are acting as if they are ancients worshiping, the god of their ancestors, their land, their geographical, location. They are doing this, whether they say it or not. And I think the powers behind the mainstream media are discovering that they don't need to actually push against that. They can work within it. Yeah. And we're going to see it more and more.
Well, it's suspending disbelief. And anytime a worldview is broken or shattered, it's a dangerous time because a lot of different things can come in and replace it. So, just to touch back on that article, it was a Popular Mechanics article. Your very own consciousness can interact with the whole universe, scientists believe. Recent experiments suggest the brain is not too warm or wet for consciousness to exist as a quantum wave that connects with the rest of the universe. So again, it's like this hive mind
they were
thing.
Promoting that on X quite a bit.
All over the place,
but I think, I think I would describe it as, it's not that they need to fight against anything. They are integrating the supernatural worldview with the secular worldview because, for instance, if aliens were going to come down and create a one world religion, or there was some sort of event where the whole world saw something all at once that promised the salvation of the world. These are supernatural occurrences. You need a framework for secularists and atheists to believe or to accept supernatural activity for the Revelation 13, scenario. It doesn't work. It couldn't happen without a secular mindset of the supernatural. Right. And, working that into the mainstream media, developing that supernatural worldview more and more, and now starting simply to get explicit about it, giving permission to the atheist, secularist, blah, 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 giving permission to start calling things supernatural, even if it's just spicy psychology. But, it opens up the stage for the alien to come down and tell everybody where we came from and how we can merge back with the universe or the Galactic Federation or whatever.
Yeah, the second beast especially calling fire down from heaven in the sight of men, which means he's doing it publicly, and then that'll deceive the world to build the image to the first beast. So it's a worldwide project to build the image. It's not just a one person doing it or some lab doing it, which I think is interesting. It does speak into this collective consciousness type of thing, which is the bridge to all the supernatural mythology. The only reference you have is mythology when you cross that Rubicon, from the secular view. It's like, what do we do? How do we relate to any of this? And it's ancient mythology. That's where they're comfortable too. So interesting.
And that's when Jeff Sharlet steps in and is like, "Oh, don't worry, it's okay. It is magical. It is occult. It is mythological. But I'm here to help you transition into this new world order.
It's not supernatural. It's aesthetic power."
Yeah, right. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, we'll definitely be breaking down more of his stuff because I think that he's going to pop up a little bit more as time goes on here.
We'll keep an eye on him, and I think we're going to start again as that master's degree becomes more available. What does it take to get a master's? 2 extra years, I think, after your bachelor's.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think in a couple years, the true industry will be built, and Jeff Sharlet will be the veteran,
the John the Baptist. The entire industry.
He is kind of the John the Baptist of that industry.
Leading the way.
All right, Gons. Well, I don't want you to be confused. I got to let you know it's Wednesday, my dude.
Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what day it is? It's Wednesday. Time for the Canary Cry News Talk. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yeah, we did it. For pretty much all year long, we'll get to Wednesday and Friday's show, and I'm just like, what happened to the week? Whoa, the time speeding up phenomenon has just been getting faster and faster and faster all year. But this week, for the first time in like 50 weeks, I'm like, holy smokes, this is going so slow.
Oh, something might have changed. They might have closed the portals over there down at CERN.
Yeah, well, all the Schumann resonance people are blowing up on X about the Schumann resonance has changed and we're getting blasted by solar energy.
Oh, did you see the Eye of Sauron on the sun?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
It's looking at us now. Yeah. We're doomed.
Yeah, so anyways, time is slowing down now, which means something's happening. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. Okay, do you have anything important to share with the people?
Nothing other than, again, that the babysitting situation, there is progress being made, but yes, we are still in no man's land. And also, just a quick mention of some uncertainties of shows coming up. Not that we're not going to do a show, but when News Talks and Canary Cry Radio for the next couple days. So anyway, look out for that.
We'll have an interview coming out soon. We can't figure out if it's Friday or Monday.
Yeah.
But no problem. You guys will love it. Okay. Well, I don't think I have anything very important to share, except for you mentioned the babysitter. The Canary Cry Babysitters Club is still trucking along, folks. You can go to canarycrybabysittersclub.com. This is an instance where maybe you're uncomfortable, supporting a show. Maybe you think we're going to buy drugs with it or something. But the Canary Cry Babysitters Club is your way to know exactly where your support of the show is going. You can sign up. Yeah, you can sign up at canarycrybabysittersclub.com. You can help us pay for an hour of babysitting a month, or just make a one-time, donation to the babysitter thing over there. It's great. And at the same time, we have the December Canary Cry calendar executive producer promotion going on right now. Those who are signed up for the Babysitters Club or the supply drop, you will be receiving the ultimate Canary Cry calendar. It's the 4th one. We don't make it. It's not us. It would be much worse if you and I did it, Gons. But this is created by producer Ebony Blaze and a whole team of artists and producers who put together this treasured talisman of the Canary Cryiverse. It's got, believe it or not, 12 months with art from our excellent producers for each month. And the calendar itself is chock-a-block full of incredible. It's been 4 years now of filling this calendar with more and more interesting dates as you go throughout the year. And these are dates, historical dates when it comes to secret societies, intelligence offices, weird political stuff, the Fed, all important dates for pretty much anything that you would be interested in if you listen to this show or any other show. Think about that. You got friends who listen to, well, for instance, SGT Report. They're not quite in the Canary Cry verse yet. That's okay. They'll be here soon. But so this is really a calendar that anybody who's interested in what's really going on in the world, and then, they'll come across Basil Podcasterson Day or Stabman Day, or some of these Canary Cry Radio, Canary Cry News Talk based holidays. And it's just a good time, folks. So remember, if you're signed up for Supply Drop or Babysitter's Club, you will be receiving it anyways. But some people don't want to sign up for a monthly support thing. And that's okay. We had a lot of people wanting the calendar, but not wanting to support the show. I'm sorry, I can't give you a free one. But if you sign up, or not sign up, if you executive produce the show, any show, if you become an executive producer for the month of December, you will have an option to receive the calendar. We'll send it straight to you. If you already have one or you don't want one, then you can do two things. Number one, you can say, no, thank you. Or number two, you can say, put it in the Pass It Forward program. Yes, we now have a Pass It Forward program. If somebody executive produces the show and they don't need or want the calendar, they can donate it to the Pass It Forward program. And somebody who isn't able to get one but really wants one can get one. Now, the form is made. The infrastructure is laid. If you get our emails from canarycryradio@gmail.com or Canary Cry News Doc, if you get our emails before every episode, you will see a button in that email. If you click on that button, fill out the form, you'll be put on the list to potentially receive a calendar for free. You might have to handle shipping, but now keep in mind, this is for people who absolutely have no possibility of executive producing or supporting the show, but want a chance to get the calendar. It's first come, first serve. It'll be very limited. Stock will be very limited. So, it's kind of up to you at this point. Search your inbox, your spam folder, your updates folder, all the nooks and crannies of your email box to see if you got that email from us. Just search Canary Cry Radio. Probably just Canary Cry. And you'll see the button, click on the button, fill out the form, and you'll be put on the list. What was I going to say? Yeah. Oh, and if you're not getting that newsletter, that's tough. You should go to canarycry.party and sign up for the newsletter. It's a great newsletter. You get all the sources and the art for the show before it starts. It's a wonderful life. But with that, Gons, it's time to thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right, folks. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels. We are entirely funded by people who receive value from this show. It's not just a, cliche, give us money type of situation. It's really only calling to a paradigm shift in the economic structure of independent media. And that's what we've already talked about, the difference between independent media and alt media, alternative media. Truly independent media, in our book, is not dependent on advertisers or corporations to keep it running. That sort of negates the independent bit. They can be alternative and, ask for donations, but if they are advertising to you, they are not outside the system. They are within the exact same system that corrupted mainstream media in the first place. And of course, advertising was invented by occultists for occult reasons, but that's for another episode. So value for value. It's a biblical concept. If you get value from this, you put value back in. It's whatever the show means to you. Put your own number on it. Support the show, and it's not just with money. You can support the show with your time and your talent. Make art, volunteer. There's a lot of ways to get involved, and I will tell you now, you can ask any producer of this show. It's incredibly rewarding. So if you want to help break away from the advertising model that has for so long brainwashed well-intended alt media listeners and support a truly independent piece of media, that's here. Go to canarycry.support. That's right. We got some executive producers. These are the people who have the option to receive the Canary Cry calendar. And we're going to thank them now, starting with Sir Alex Protocol, V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol.
Sorry, muted. Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol.
Yep. Comes in with his $100 and 33 cents.
Cody's excited.
The dog is so excited. He's been on a 243 episode streak and a 39 episode executive producer streak.
Yeah, streakalicious.
It's time for Alex. It's time for Sir Alex Protocol to become a baron, like Guy and Debbie. We need to baronize some people. Next up, we've got Jessica L.
Thank you, Jessica L.
Yeah, Jessica L. comes in with a nice round number and a note here. This is this is very special. What about, look at this, the spirit of the holidays coming through with Jessica L. Jessica L. says, gifting this executive producership to my very good friend, Irene Wildtega. Oh my gosh, look at this. Happy birthday to the Grand High Matriarch of Memes. Oh.
It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
The Grand High Matriarch of Memes. We are so honored to have you as an executive producer for the show. Jessica continues, I salute you with love. Whoopsie daisies. Your anonymous friend in the Canary Cry community. Thanks for the memes and the fun. Well, thank you very much, Anonymous, for gifting this executive producership to a wonderful friend, the High Matriarch of Memes. We appreciate that very, very much.
Where'd you find this?
Should we demooch Wild Tega?
We could. I'm trying to get the dog to stop barking over here.
I can tell. No, don't worry about it. We'll move on. Thank you very much. Executive producer and Grand High Matriarch of Memes, Wild Tega. We appreciate it. Next up, we've got executive producer Livy P. Livy P comes in with 133.33. You can tell there's some multitasking going on here, folks. That's okay. See, we're making it happen. Livy P did send a message, a nice message just for you and I, Gons. Thank you very much for your executive producership.
Where'd you find this?
Can't wait to send you a calendar. Thank you very much. Last but not least, we've got executive producer Caroline F.
Thank you, Caroline F.
Thank you very much. Nice round number. When people support the show, a nice round, obvious number, that is them telling us they'd prefer if we don't disclose the amount, so we won't. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you make it some funky number, like Sir Alex Protocol always puts 33 cents or something like that. That's you telling us to let the world know. And we thank you very much, executive producer Caroline F.
Where'd you find this?
And now, for all the executive producers, remember to keep an eye out in your email that you used to send in your producership, and you'll receive an email from this probably Sir Ike, the supply drop email, on details about your calendar. Okay. Other than that, we had a very short list of producers today, Gon, so I'm just going to run through it right quick.
Okay.
Next up, we have Sir Marty K. Oh, this is the list of producers who come in under the executive producer amount, but over 777. Sir Marty K, Night of the Wrong Timeline.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sir Marty K.
Thank you very much. Yes, he comes in for 1212. I think I may have got that wrong. I think he came in for 1313. Spooky. And he sends a little note here. He says, "Hey fellas, I just got something you might find funny and interesting, maybe in my Instagram box. I took a screenshot of it and attached it to this email."
Oh, good.
And I have it.
Yeah, I don't.
I meant to put it in this document for you. Maybe I can do that right now. Basically what it is a screenshot of the Instagram sort of chat box of his. Here, I'm going to stick it right here.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah,
okay.
I got it.
And somehow, I don't know what's going on with Sir Marty, but he's like on the Mark Zuckerberg channel. I guess there's just like a CEO channel that he like puts stuff out to. But Mark Zuckerberg sent this out to everybody. Rolling out multimodal AI that can both see and hear on Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses for early access. You can ask Meta AI to translate images, create options, identify objects, and more.
Captions.
Then there's a picture that Zuck sent of him sort of in his closet looking at some clothes that are hanging up. And it's obviously from the POV of his smart glasses he's wearing, because his hands are just sort of like awkwardly out in front of him. It's almost like he's like, "See, I'm a real human. I have hands," and he's just touching some shirts that he has hanging up. And it says, "Zuck starting to test multimodal AI that can both see and hear something." But he's in his closet for some inexplicable reason, touching his shirts to test the AI. Thank you very much, lizard person, Mark Zuckerberg.
Great. Good stuff. Cody, come on.
Cody, don't you know we're doing a show? Cody does a dog podcast, but that doesn't come out on Wednesdays. That's it. That's it for regular producers. Just one. Thank you very much, Sir Marty K.
Thank you, Sir Marty K.
We do have our streakers coming in under $7.77, which entitles them to nothing except for having their name read on the show. If you come in over the $7.77, entitles you to have a note read on the show. But here's our streakers. We love them. Dr. Who Done That, 37 in a row.
Thank you, Dr. Who Done That.
Sir Morv, 310 in a row.
Thank you, Sir Morv.
Veronica D, 340 in a row.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Oh, this is a big one. Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's has reached 333. That's a big one. Thank you very much, Dame Gale, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 364 in a row.
Thank you, Sir Scott.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
379 in a row. Thank you to our financial producers. We could not do the show without you. These are the people, folks. These are the people who are financially keeping the show alive. It's the reason we're able to do it so long for so many days a week. If we didn't have these producers, it just simply would be impossible, because on principle, we're not going to advertise to you. I mean, I was thinking about it, Guns. Maybe when Basil's Bunker comes out, I'm definitely going to be plugging Basil's Bunker, but that doesn't count as advertising.
It's your own product. If it's your own product, then I guess you can.
Yeah, I think we're okay if it's our own product.
Yeah.
But there you go. God bless you, financial producers, and everybody out there. Thank a producer, because they're the ones. They're the reason that you get a show today. Okay, well, thanks some producers with their time and their talent later on in the show.
Okay.
But other than that, we are all set, Gons.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's the Flippy update. Short one today, but important. FLIPPY is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about FLIPPY as a way to explore all the new fun and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and how there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry, I had a brain glitch because I hear my goats screaming at something out there. It's probably birds. I think my goats are at war with some birds who come to steal their food. Today's FLIPPY update is coming from phys.org. The headline is U.S. slaps TV provider with first ever space debris fine. Oh no. U.S. authorities said they have issued a breakthrough first ever fine over space debris, slapping a $150,000 penalty on a TV company that failed to properly dispose of a satellite. They space littered. On Monday, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, came down on Dish for, quote, failure to properly deorbit a satellite called EchoStar 7 in orbit since 2002. Wow, it's like a grandpa satellite. Quote, this marks a first in space debris enforcement by the commission, which has stepped up its satellite policy efforts. The FCC, which authorizes space-based telecom services, said in a statement. And then it kind of just talks about space stuff for a second. As the geostationary satellite came to the end of its operational life, Dish had moved it to an altitude lower than the two parties had agreed on, where it, quote, could pose orbital debris concerns, the FCC said. Can you hear my dogs losing their minds right now? I think somebody is invading the castle. I don't think Gons is even here. Anywho, we've talked about space debris. We've talked about robotic arms, Space FLIPPY, reaching out, capturing space debris, cleaning it up, enforcing things like this. And so I thought to myself, surely they will talk about FLIPPY, the robotic arm, who is now sort of charged with cleaning up suborbital satellites. But no, instead, they go into collision risks. They talk about how graveyard orbit, the sort of level of orbit that when satellites go to die. They talk about space debris. Says here, if left unchecked, the accumulation of orbital debris will increase the risk of collisions and clutter orbits used for human spaceflight and for satellites, the Federal Aviation Administration said. The European Space Agency estimates that around 1 million pieces of debris larger than a centimeter, big enough to disable a spacecraft, in quotes, are in Earth's orbit. They are already causing problems. And here's where FLIPPY comes in. From a near miss in January last winter involving a Chinese satellite to a 5-millimeter hole knocked into a robotic arm on the International Space Station in 2021. And that's it. Do you remember when one of our beloved robotic arms had a hole punched through it with debris?
I do remember this, yes.
Yes, it's horrible. But I love how in this age of basically corporations getting away with whatever they want, one of the sort of justifying events to the public, like, why do we care? Why are they charging these people for space debris? You know, a lot of us don't even believe in space. We don't even know what's going on out there.
That's funny. Before we pay the tax, prove that there's a space.
Yeah, exactly. We're all down for charging corporations, but what is this space nonsense?
Well, if they can charge, if they could do cyberspace tax, then they can do space tax. Cyberspace isn't even physical. That's how they'll argue it in court, you know?
They are literally, for the only purpose in this article, the only purpose is to support public opinion, to get the public to turn on the corporation and say, see, this is why we need to pass the law, or this is why we need to charge them, or this is why corporations need to be held accountable. The only reason is because of the beloved robotic arms. And FLIPPY, the disembodied robot arm, this has been a core piece of the Flippy update, and that is the robotic arms are propaganda. They are propagandized. They are propagandizing robots. The propaganda itself is centered around how we must love these robots. We must let them into our life. We must let them make our food and our coffee, and specifically these cute dancing robotic arms. Those are the ones that we must love. We've tracked it for many years. And now we are seeing the weaponization of a beautiful robotic arm.
Yeah, you're going to have to
by a careless corporation, Space Junk. Got a hole knocked right through it on the International Space Station. So rise up, citizens. It's about time we start charging these corporations.
You're going to go down in history as an early robot activist. Weird, anonymous man with googly eyes on the internet advocating for robot rights. You'll be misconstrued. You'll be remembered falsely by the winners.
That's true. See, the idea here, I know, folks, it gets confusing. Do I like the robots? Do I not like the robots? It's all part of the plan.
It's part of the plan, yes.
It's part of the plan. You got to keep them guessing.
Yeah.
You got to keep your enemies confused about exactly what you think.
That's
the robots.
You learn from the best. That's the Alex Jones tactic. You know, Elon's an antichrist, and then 2 weeks later, Elon's fighting the globalist, taking down the whole system and fighting back. And both can be true at the same time.
It's true. But the point, aside from what I think, the point is they have spent years and years and years framing these robotic arms as an important part of our lives, and that we should love them and we should give them rights. And then they can turn around and weaponize that love for the robots for their sick government regulatory aims. If we just tell them that a robotic arm got shot in space by a careless corporate piece of litter, then the public will understand and they will support our space regulations. This is how they do it, folks. They do it with lots of things, and the robotic arms are no exception. That's your Flippy update for the day.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go on to a whole rant about robots and pedophiles, but I'll save it for another time.
Yeah, that'll be the next one.
Okay. Wars and rumors of wars.
And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
In this fifth generation warfare.
Fifth gen warfare.
They're targeting you. They're targeting you.
Fifth gen warfare.
Fifth generation warfare. The battle for the minds of the population. A war of narratives.
A war of narratives. All right, we are I'm going to do an article here from Bloomberg. It's an op-ed, and it is titled, "It's Not Just Ukraine and Gaza. War is on the rise everywhere."
Perfect.
Everywhere, Basil. And here's what it says. Let me go full screen here, those of you watching. Quote, "It'll all be over by Christmas" has become one of the most derided prophecies in history. It was made by wiseacres in London, Paris, Berlin, St. Petersburg, and elsewhere in Europe as the First World War exploded in August 1914. These misguided optimists founded their projection on recent experience. Europe had suffered no long big conflict since the fall of Napoleon a century earlier. Yet, as everybody knows today, far from being over before Santa Claus called, the terrible struggle that began with Austria's invasion of Serbia lasted 4 years and killed around 20 million people before the 1918 armistice. This week, the International Institute for Strategic Studies, the IISS, in London, published the latest edition of its authoritative annual Armed Conflict Survey. And it's not predicting much peace for the holidays. It paints a grim picture of rising violence in many regions. They needed to get their spell checker. Of wars chronically resistant to broking of peace. The survey, which addresses regional conflicts rather than the superpower confrontation between China, Russia, and the U.S., and its allies documents 183 conflicts for 2023, the highest number in 3 decades.
Wow.
Records meant to be broken, Basil.
I love how we only know about 2 of them.
The highlights, quote, intractably, am I saying that right? Intractability as the defining feature of the contemporary global conflict landscape. Non-state armed groups, of which Hamas in Gaza is only the most immediately conspicuous, play a baleful role. In many places, these forces are supported by disruptive major powers, notably Russia and Iran. Although the world is not immediately threatened by a great war, such as those of 1914 through 18 and 1939 through 45, tensions are arising, especially between the U.S. and China. I would identify an issue that seems to me as a historian especially important and dangerous. One of the primary reasons Europe went to war in 1914 is that none of the big players were as frightened as they should have been of conflicts as a supreme human catastrophe. After a century in which the continent had experienced only limited wars, from which Prussia had been an especially conspicuous profiteer, too many statesmen viewed war as a usable instrument of policy, which proved a catastrophic misjudgment. Today, we see Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, sharing this delusion. His lunges into Georgia in 2008 goes on about Russia and their moves over the years here. The IISS survey concludes that any prospect of a resolution of the struggle must hinge on Kyiv, quote, obtaining security guarantees that ensure Ukraine's future territorial integrity against external aggression, end quote. Meanwhile, we still don't know how far China's President Xi Jinping is prepared to extend his own aggression in the South China Sea. And then, of course, they mentioned Gaza and Israel. There are border clashes worldwide, of which Russia's attempt to overwhelm Ukraine is only the most devastating. And this is where it lists some other stuff going on here. Azerbaijan has seized the Nagorno-Karabakh region, precipitating the flight of more than 100,000 of its Armenian inhabitants. Tensions persist between Russia and Georgia and are worse than in ever, I think I need to spell check this, in modern times between Algeria and Morocco. In Pakistan, domestic terrorism has escalated and stresses in relations with India's anti-Muslim government are running dangerously high. Meanwhile, the IISS reports, quote, the accelerating climate crisis continues to act as a multiplier of both root cause of conflict and institutional weaknesses in fragile countries. So you see, Basil, it's not so much that we can't do much about it institutionally. It's that it's climate change. It's a multiplier of the issues. Oh my gosh.
Well, what I find so interesting with this is really not almost any of the details they've shared. I think it's sort of an incredibly dry presentation by Bloomberg here. But what I take away so far is, hey, yeah, there's lots of war. There's Gaza, there's Ukraine, but there's 120 other wars going on all at once, to which I ask, okay, interesting how we have not heard of many of the other ones. To which leads me to believe, they must kind of have nothing to do with America. It's not our most important national interests to have the American public know about these. And that may be on one side, just the fact that it's, I don't know, a country that we don't care about fighting with another country we don't care about, or specifically sort of hiding it, like during Obama, the war in Syria and Libya, and American soldiers fighting all over the place. Obama got us into, precipitated 5 wars during his tenure there, and most people still have no idea, because it was very beneficial to keep those wars secret for Obama, because he had won the Nobel Peace Prize. He was this very peace-oriented candidate, and fighting for, everything he's fighting for, and then turns around and starts 5 wars. So it could be that side. But what I see with this quote is specifically an admission of the 5th generation warfare that we keep talking about. The accelerating climate crisis. Okay, so, if you actually look at it, the climate crisis is not so much a climate crisis outside of rhetoric, propaganda, justifications, all these sorts of things for some sort of new world economic order. Climate crisis is just sort of like sprinkles that they will throw on anything going on in the world, just to make sure that it's sort of ubiquitous in the fear and the stress going on with the public. The accelerating climate crisis continues to act as a multiplier of both root causes of conflict and institutional weakness in fragile countries. So this climate crisis, they are speaking of the climate crisis as if, the world heating up is causing people to fight and weakening our democracies. Oh man, if only the earth would stop heating up, then we could have democracy and there would be no more war. What a great message.
Yeah.
But when people like us hear the climate crisis continues to act as a multiplier, both root causes of conflict and institutional weakness in fragile countries, what we hear is the propaganda, the act of
the New World Order
rhetoricizing
fantasy
the
league.
idea. Yeah, policies, speeches, demonizing people who question it, the religion of the climate crisis, the communication day in and day out, the 5th generational warfare weaponization of the idea of the climate crisis. Yes, we can agree, is root causes of conflict and weakening institutions in fragile countries. I'd say it's weakening institutions in non-fragile countries.
Yeah.
They're basically just coming right out and saying, yes, the propaganda, the 5th generational warfare missile launcher that is climate crisis is causing 123 wars across the world. You only know of 2 of them, but you'll get a load of these ones. You're gonna love it, and it's all climate crisis fault. Oh goodness, we got to pay our carbon tax.
Yeah. The 5th generation warfare becomes very apparent later on in this article. We're going to skip down here. It's talking about Africa and the African Union personnel. And I'll just start here. Unless or until superpower tensions become less dominant in geopolitics, an unlikely development, the UN's ability to intervene effectively in conflicts will continue to decline. They're admitting that the UN is no longer a viable option for peace because nobody's listening. The superpower tensions and the climate of geopolitics, not just the climate itself, but geopolitics is causing this downward spiral of effect of the UN. So what do we do in place of that? Partly in consequence of this intractability, armed struggles are becoming longer. Iskander Riemann, a fellow of the Henry Kissinger Center at Johns Hopkins University.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect, right? The baton has been passed. Has just published a book arguing that the U.S. and its allies must stop making policy and strategy on the assumption that future wars will be short. He writes, quote, I love this. Chinese and American operational preferences are remarkably similar. Both put a premium on striking first and controlling the initiative, end quote, which is, we know about China's generational warfare, so I don't know why. Maybe
why? What are you talking about? China is in a 1,000-year war with superpowers.
I love that they're like, because look, as a public, we have experienced the vernacular forever wars because we go into a conflict and we just stay there for a couple decades, right?
Whoa, the baby's crazy. What are they talking about? What war has happened in our lifetime that has been a short war? The war in Iraq, the war on terror, it was supposed to kill like 1,000 terrorists over in a cave somewhere, lasted 20 years.
Yeah.
What kind of crazy doublespeak, George Orwell, Brave New World, 1984 doublespeak mind control nonsense is going on with this Henry Kissinger guy or his protege or whatever, where he's sort of like, it is a wild amount of sort of propaganda is not even the right word. It's just mind control.
Yeah, it's a presupposition that only exists if you're looking at very small, narrow things that are happening, maybe. But yeah, it's
like
this idea
creating a worldview that all of our wars are so short, and we need to stop thinking of that.
Right. Well, it might be a little window into some of the strategies perhaps of, the current military industrial complex, in a sense where they're trying to front run certain things and get in front of it and then be able to control whatever that thing is, rather than looking at it as like, okay, this is going to be a longer conflict. They just want to win quick, and I can see that kind of perspective. But
well, I mean,
he continues here.
Mm-hmm. That's the most profitable way to do it.
Right.
Is to say it's going to be quick. Hey, give us the $200 billion now.
Yeah.
Just real quick. One price, $200 billion. Maybe do it 2 or 3 more times. Pump that right into the American military industrial complex.
Use Putin's money. Just use Putin's money. We pay you back.
Yeah. This will be over fast. Don't worry. I mean, it is part of the bait and switch that the military industrial complex has pulled off over and over and over, is that, hey, you got to get ahead of it. You got to do fast.
Yeah, listen to this though. Okay, so he continues on with the. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were still talking. You cut out for a second, so I thought you finished talking.
Does that dog needs
to be
out?
No, or something. There's the mailman's here, so that's a.
Oh, the mailman.
Yeah, the mailman.
Oh, speaking of mailman, the new PO box is available, people. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, so continuing on here, he believes. Jeez, Louise, come on, hey, quiet. Go lay down. Okay. He believes this will not prove viable in the future, that the immense economic heft of China and the U.S. would cause conflict between them to be protracted for many months, perhaps years and even decades. This makes it necessary for the West to build strategic stocks of weapons and munitions on a scale currently unimagined by planners. We must multiply the weaponry, Basil, the munitions. We need to stockpile, baby. Forget the preppers thing. This is like the government needs to prep. The government needs to prep. Otherwise, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is kind of just calling out the sales tactics of the military-industrial complex, saying like, hey, nobody buys the short war thing anymore. And instead of needing a war to get the economy going, why don't we just plan as if there's going to be a war forever, and you can just keep business going? It's a wonderful. I mean, talk about rumors of wars.
Yeah, and then it mentions, and this is a sentiment that we've been hearing a lot in the Hamas, Gaza, Israel situation. Temporary truces or even peace treaties between the rival monarchies merely, quote, provided an opportunity for the protagonists to regain their breath. And this is this is going back into some French history here, to rearm for the next round of war. Riemann's book, unappetizingly entitled Planning for Protraction, argues that if the West, which means principally the U.S., is to deter war above all in Asia, quote, it will need to launch a once-in-a-generation construction of procurement effort, all the while encouraging the even more industrially atrophied allies in Europe and Asia to do the same, end quote.
Right. Yeah.
I am convinced.
The whole world.
Yeah, I am convinced that Riemann is right. I am nonetheless skeptical that what he urges is going to happen because the political will is absent. He goes into all this stuff. We should stop planning the defense of the West on the assumption that any of the threats that face us will be over by Christmas. And that's how he closes this op-ed. But it's the whole point being, it seems like we need to change tactics into a forever war format because that's what we've been doing for a long time. This is forever war thing.
It is interesting. It's like they have prepared everybody. It's like that's like the contrarian view of, podcasters on the internet saying this is not going to be a short war. This is going to drag on. I mean, remember everybody at the beginning of the Ukraine war, like, this is not going to be a 3-week operation or whatever. This is going to be forever. We know this.
Well, especially after they pulled out of Afghanistan, everyone was waiting for the next thing. It was...
Oh, I called it to the day. Or to the week. I said 6 months. It was August. I said 6 months and we're in a new war. Boom, February in a new war.
Yeah.
Just shows how programmed we are all to expect a long war. And I think more than anything, what this guy's doing is just putting words to what we all know. It's like, hey, we don't need to lie to everybody and just keep everybody, string them along week by week for a 10-year war. Just tell them it's going to be 10 years.
Right. So I wanted to land this with, the whole mention in the article about how the UN is ineffective now. The way things are moving. It's about, long game. Oh, gee, Cody, he's driving me crazy. He's insane.
Yeah.
He's an insane dog.
He's going to snap.
Oh, I'm going to snap.
Guns.
Okay.
Guns is going to snap.
I'm going to snap. Okay. So if it's not Cody, that's going to make me snap. It's Al Gore at some UN event. Talking about what? What is he talking about?
If you have social media that is dominated by algorithms that pull people down these rabbit holes that are a bit like pitcher plants, these algorithms, they are the digital equivalent of AR-15s. They ought to be banned. They really ought to be banned. It's an abuse of the public forum. But when people are pulled down these rabbit holes, you know what's at the bottom of the rabbit hole? That's where the echo chamber is. And if you spend too much time in the echo chamber, what's weaponized is another form of AI, not artificial intelligence, artificial insanity. I'm serious. I'm serious. QAnon is just the best known version of artificial insanity. And these devices are the enemies of self-government, and they're the enemies of democracy. We need reforms for both democracy and capitalism. Both sets of reforms are possible.
Oh, you mean a new world order? I think that's what he's talking about. New sets.
That's so ironic. It's hilarious.
Well, yeah.
Coming from Al Gore.
Al Gore, talking about algorithms.
About climate change, which is causing all wars around the world.
Yeah, there was a song called Virtual Insanity. Remember that song? By Jamiroquai?
Yeah.
Yeah, Al Gore's just stealing from him, calling it artificial insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I can't do this anymore.
Canary Cry Babysitters Club, folks. Canary Cry Babysitters Club.com. We are making progress. We still need about 80 more Babysitters Club signer-uppers to meet our goal to be able to get Guns a month of babysitting for the show. It's one way you can support the show.
I was going to say real quick, the lyrics from the song Virtual Insanity. And I'm thinking, what a mess we're in. Hard to know where to begin. If I could slip the sickly ties that earthly man has made, and now every mother can choose the color of her child. That's not nature's way. Well, that's what they said yesterday. There's nothing left to do but pray. I think it's time to find a new religion. Whoa, it's so insane to synthesize another strain. There's something in these futures that we have to be told.
Whoa, bro.
Virtual insanity. That's where we're at. That's where Al Gore says we're at. In the echo
speaking
chamber.
of which, why don't we check in real quick with David Grush?
Ah, yes, the UFOs and aliens. A quick update from David Grush. Now, the setup here is that, well, let's do this first.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified.
So, David Grush, every time we brought him up on the show here, the point that we wanted to make was, hey, according to his own words and all of the testimony that he'd been doing, he doesn't have firsthand accounts. He's reporting on secondhand or things he's read. You know, that's been the narrative that we've been told.
And more than that, like that not even necessarily being the problem, he is telling us straight up, basically, that this is the disclosure. This is the official government disclosure. He's not a renegade. He's not, going off script. This is the official government disclosure on UFOs. Yeah. He has said as much himself.
Right. And so the anchor here on News Nation basically sets up Grush for with the same, I guess, criticism.
People who saw your big interview that aired here on News Nation and who watched your congressional testimony, people who might not buy everything you're saying, who are skeptics, have said over and over again, he has no firsthand knowledge. He is just telling what someone else told him or telling what he read. How do you respond to people who say, because you don't have any firsthand knowledge, maybe we shouldn't believe you?
Well, I couldn't be very upfront about my firsthand knowledge until recently. I got some other security approvals through the pre-publication and security review process. And I did have some firsthand knowledge of some specific parts of the program. I'm currently drafting an op-ed that I'm going to release in a few weeks, and I will be discussing what I actually do know firsthand. I just could not overtly discuss that at the time, including at the hearing, because the Pentagon and the IC were sitting on some of my pre-publication and review paperwork at the time, so I could not acknowledge that.
When you say you have firsthand knowledge, you actually saw something yourself?
Well, the deeper description of what I know has been redacted. They proposed a redaction in a pre-publication and security review response a few days ago, and they're telling me to withhold legally some of the firsthand knowledge I have, but I'm allowed to generally discuss that I was read into a UAP-related program directly by the U.S. government.
Boom, boom, there it is. Yeah. So,
love it.
Yeah, he's basically saying that, yes, he's got firsthand knowledge, and the carrot on the stick continues to entice, because we went through the entire hearing, and that the whole thing was, I've been heard, blah, 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 but yes, it's a disclosure. And sure enough, a few weeks later, I'm working on an op-ed and working with the government on what I can say and what I can't say. And
those are the things to notice. He constantly, this is not new, this is constantly through his whole thing, he's saying, more or less, to paraphrase, I'm only saying what the government is letting me say. I'm only saying what the government is letting me say. I won't say anything unless the government tells me I can say it.
Which makes this next clip interesting.
Real quick. And then the fact that what he's saying is, I was read in on a UFO program, and I'm only sharing what they say I can share, means they read him in. The government is like, oh, you're the guy. Okay,
you are the whistleblower. You are the disclosure man.
Everybody's saying that it's only secondhand. Nobody's taking you seriously. Okay, let's do this. We will read you in on a program. Now you can say you have firsthand knowledge, and then, you can only share little bits and pieces, but it doesn't matter. The fact that you have firsthand knowledge, that we are giving you firsthand knowledge on a program, that can continue to keep this nonsense going. I mean, it's I don't know why anybody would get, well, I take that back. I get it. I'm excited. I'm excited that something is happening.
Well, you got to have some bad guys. There's got to be some conflict, because you were mentioning how he's only saying what he's allowed to say. Interesting to consider with this next clip.
About a week after the hearing, there was a hit piece on me out of The Intercept, and the journalist, although I wouldn't call this guy a journalist, sounds like he's just a immature troll, to be quite honest with you. He went on The Hill's talk show, if you will, a few days after the article dropped, and he said that there were multiple DOD and IC personnel that verbally tipped him off on where to look to get some records on a previous, mental health evaluation that I had almost 6 years ago. So he himself admitted that the DoD and IC verbally tipped him off on, I think it's Breaking Points, the show that The Hill publication. He literally admitted that on camera. You can look it up, that he was tipped off by insiders about a few days after the hearing, and he admits it to himself. So I find that very troubling, and I encourage the DoD Inspector General, whistleblower reprisal, and his investigation staff to look into that, because you basically have probable security officers, because who would know this kind of information, providing a journalist, private health information, right?
Why do you think they did that? Was this some sort of attempt to silence you?
Oh, yeah, it's intimidation. It's like kill the messenger, not the message. I mean, these are tactics that other whistleblowers, have had to endure, that have come forward, in a similar fashion as myself.
Yeah, no big deal. This is just part of the warfare, man. It's part of the battle.
Dude, he doesn't know what. There's so many things wrong with what he said.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, first of all, he's talking about The Hill.
Yeah, The Hill is not
the show Breaking Points.
Breaking Point, yeah.
Breaking Points is not a show on The Hill. Crystal and Sagar
used to be at the
formerly
Hill. Right.
On The Hill. I think their show was Rising or something. I forget. They left The Hill to start Breaking Points. So he kind of sounds like, when your dad is trying to talk about Pokemon or something.
Yeah, the Chew Peaks, those Chew Peak electric bugs.
Pikachu, he's a cute guy that's on Rugrats or Nickelodeon. Isn't Pikachu on Nickelodeon?
He's on The Simpsons.
Dad, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah. Except apparently not even worth his time, because they're just they're not, especially The Intercept, apparently not journalists, but just a troll.
Well, right. Then he's talking about The Intercept, which, look, we've talked about The Intercept. It was started by Glenn Greenwald, which I think formerly it was a pretty legit outlet. I think they did a good job. Now, they may have been politically left, but they were sort of staunchly anti-authoritarian, anti-establishment.
Yeah.
Until they kicked out Glenn Greenwald, and who was the reporter who put out the Edward Snowden leaks, by the way, just for his credentials. They kicked him out, and it was one of the big examples we saw of establishment mainstream news operators leaving the mainstream news space. And that's kind of what happened at The Intercept. You had all these mainstream people join Glenn Greenwald, then kick Glenn Greenwald out, and then totally become another establishment mouthpiece. But anyways, I don't really get what he's trying to say, except for he's upset that they let his mental health history come out.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting that he's doing everything the government's telling him to do, but then he's got to call out other parts of different agencies doing different things against it. It's like this.
Yeah, maybe
there's an insider war going on.
Maybe the insinuation is like The Intercept, the anti-establishment outlet, The Intercept was getting in the way of my official government leaking or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So it does seem like it's a turf war type of thing. We've been talking about an internal intelligence turf war type of thing for years now. And it was picked up by the Q movement, the white hats and all this kind of stuff. And, I think you and I were always analyzing it, not as taking sides with any of them, but just to say that, yeah, there does seem to be some conflicts, probably based on dividing lines that fall on the Constitution or maybe some faith-based stuff, but who knows exactly. But nevertheless, there are probably some disagreements happening amongst the ranks in our intelligence apparatus, and it's never you're never as strong as a nation when you're broken from the inside like that. So you can kind of see how the destruction of the country has taken place because of it. But in this case, yeah, it's almost necessary for a third element to enter the political spectrum with the conversation of UFOs and aliens and UAPs and the whole drama unfolding. It's you got to have something interesting for people to click on, because I think they spent their ammo with COVID. You know, they got a lot of clicks. Mainstream media made a ton of money, not just from the advertisements, but from the haters coming to visit all their stuff. So they need the clicks. So they're going to find whatever the topic is, and this seems like another, again, a carrot on the stick. Actually, a new carrot.
That's not a bad analysis. I mean, it could be that the entire David Grush thing is a gift from the government. It's, you know, the government used and abused the media, you know, all through COVID, made them their sort of whipping boy or you know, whatever,
mouthpiece
dog, basically. And because of that, because the media was simply a mouthpiece for the government, no actual reporting, you know, the media, nobody trusts it anymore. It's trash. It's total trash. Nobody cares. The tide has turned.
Yeah.
And as kind of a gift to the media, the government's like, okay, here, we'll give you this guy, this official guy, and it'll be UFO disclosure, and he can string them along for years, and you can milk as much as you want out of them.
Yeah, makes sense.
I could totally see that.
Makes a lot of sense. Especially, in a realm like the mainstream media losing credibility, it makes sense to try to do something real quick in tandem with the government to maintain the credibility or reinflate that credibility back.
Right.
So it would make sense to do something that the general public couldn't exactly report on.
Yeah, I mean, it's more exciting either way. It's more exciting for mainstream news to be leaking about UFOs than podcasts who have been doing it for decades.
Right, exactly. Okay.
All right.
Good stuff. So good analysis all around here. We're going to thank some producers coming in with their talent. And to start things off here, before we dive too deep, we'll do some speak pipe.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to canarycrynews.com. Cody. Oh my goodness. Click on.
Can the dog just not be in another room or the other part of the house?
Oh, he freaks out even more if we do that. He'll start scratching
but we can't
doors.
Hear him if he's doing that.
Yeah, but he's also destroying the door.
Oh, well,
Here,
a price
come
must
here,
be
buddy.
paid.
Come here.
Oh, something's happening. Something's happening. I hope it's.
Yeah, you got something to say, you say it right into the mic there.
No. This is always backfired.
All right. At least if I hold him, he won't bark. All right. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, cuddle.
Yes. Go to canarycrynews.com on any of the pages there. Click on the green tab on the. Hey, you're not happy? You're not happy? Okay. On the right side or the bottom of the page, it'll give you a little pop-up window that allows you to record a audio message of up to 90 seconds on your device. And so do that. Let us know if it's a private message right at the top of the recording so that we are aware and we don't blast that out into the public. We have one message to play today from Nomen Prunte. It is the completion of the 12 days of Christmas.
Nomen Prunte here. On this, the 12th day of Christmas, my normie gave to me 12 commies re-educating, 11 bureaus investigating, 10 sorcerers outsourcing, 9 Babylons burning, 8 podfathers casting, 7 Trudeau's mansplaining, 6 Zuckers forfeiting, 5 Elon's cage fighting, 4 Bitcoins mining, 3 brains a-washing, 2 Bidens bumbling, and a FLIPPY to prune my pear tree.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Somebody needs to take that.
I love it.
Turn it into a
I
whole thing.
actually reached out on Discord to some of our jingle makers. I think it would be fun to put together a real spicy Canary Cry version. Get an instrumental together. Get some actual vocals going there.
Yeah.
I think it's about time we have a true Canary Cry Christmas song.
Yeah, and that's something that can be used every year. It's not just 1 year. Thank you very much, Nomen Prunte. Appreciate it. I like the sorcerers outsourcing.
Yeah,
that
I like
sounds
that one too.
sounds like a firm that we should start just to front and run the actual sorcerers and then stonewall them. All right, very good. Thank you very much for all that. We're gonna thank some producers coming in with their audio production.
Audio production.
We have a piece here from Jonathan F. today.
Jonathan F.
And his note here says, "Hello guys, just a quick Brando flub about Bidenomics."
On my watch, instead of Infrastructure Week, America's having infrastructure decade. Over $1.3 billion. Trump just talks about we walk the walk. Over $1.3 billion. Trump just talks the talk. We walk the walk.
Man, I love that. Billion, trillion, billion, million. I love it. It's so good. But the music was great there too. It just captured the chaos that is Biden's whole thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, he's got one more here. Jonathan F. does. It's a cyber terrorism jingle.
Cyber terrorism.
Very good.
Oh, sweet. Love it.
Nice punchy
Short
one.
and punchy.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. I believe that was the only audio I got. Is that correct, Basil? Or am I failing our producers once again?
Well, it's a good check-in. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. I think that's it for the music stuff. Let's do art.
One art, please.
We're going to start with Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
And I love this. Dove has a piece here with a note. Piece for today's artwork. I made some promotional material for a new podcast I heard a couple weeks ago where this off-the-gridding pair of Google eyes tries to live stream a video game in a tiny box on the screen over the blaring sounds of some Alex Jones heavy metal music. Needless to say, it was great. It was a great success. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you. And it's Dove.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, it was a moment in Canary Cry history. And, it's been a while since we've had a Dove movie poster come in. This is in the style of a movie poster, and it's, this is good. All right, I'll just go for it. Up at the top, no jingles, no art, no problem. Basil Rosewater's Left Behind podcast. Premieres November 29th. Maybe that was the day that it happened. It must have been.
I think it is.
And in the background here, you got, tall movie poster style. At the bottom, you've got me with my VR headset on, the googly eyes. This is an updated one. It's got the worried eyebrows on it. Behind me is the tinfoil cabin. We've got some Revelation Ready rabbits with their tinfoil hats on. We got the emu with the VR headset with the googly eyes. It's looking very good, very intense, very similar to the Left Behind poster. Then up top, we've got a screaming translucent Alex Jones. We've got a flat Earth dome picture and some shapes of landing gear of airplanes at the top. Again, for anybody who is familiar with the Left Behind movie poster or the front of the VHS or something, this is perfect. One thing I liked about this, and this might be the first time it's ever happened, Dove, his Alex Jones screaming picture here, he's got the little Alex Jones tooth gap in the front, very notable. And down in the bottom, this rendition of me, he actually included my little Basil tooth gap. I don't think any artist has ever included that detail before.
Yeah, it's not. It's not every moment that they see your mouth.
That's true. I must have really let the chompers out that day. Yeah, I love it. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. The tooth gap, when I was younger, I was very, sort of sensitive about the tooth gap. I did the braces, did everything to try to do that. But thank God it didn't work. In my older age, I more or less just forget about it forever. Just a little slight, just a little, if I need to run a credit card or something, I can slip it in there. But thank you very much, Sir Dove.
It's good physics for creating a water stream out of your mouth.
It's true. Yeah, it makes it easier to breathe too.
Yeah,
when I'm doing exercise.
I think you're supposed to breathe from your nostrils. Oh,
not these nostrils, baby. Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Thank you.
Let's see here. I think.
Yeah, we have a Pizza Rat piece of art here.
Oh, yes, the Pizza Rat piece.
To make good on. Yes, Pizza Rat had a note here. Sorry for the diverge from the Canaryverse theme. This is just the thought I've not been able to dislodge. And it's thanks, Aunt Sharon. And this is actually a rendition of Sharon Gilbert, our friend, wife of Derek Gilbert over at PID Radio and Skywatch News.
Of course, yeah. Well, Aunt Sharon is a character I created during the ramblings of How to Share the Show. Share with Aunt Sharon, Sharon with Sharon. But here we've got, looks like we're in a kitchen at Aunt Sharon's house. There's Sharon Gilbert in all of her glory. And she's got a plate of cookies that she's just baked. And it looks like we got a baby Gons, a baby Basil, and a baby Pizza Rat in his punk rock gear here. And all three of us in unison saying, thanks, Aunt Sharon. So we should send this to Sharon. I'm sure
I was going to tag her. Yeah, I was going to tag her with it. So we'll do that. Yeah, if anybody is unfamiliar, Sharon Gilbert wrote a book about a fictional book about a world where a virus breaks out and the vaccine is issued as part of the fulfillment of the Mark of the Beast prophecy. So
yes. For those who might be new to the scene, the vaccine Mark of the Beast thing has been around for quite some time.
Yep. That's it for the art. Thank you very much, Pizza Rat. And we have a couple microfictions.
Microfiction.
Time.
Microfiction.
We have one from Stephen S.
Steven!
Oh, nuts. Sorry, I'm still scrolling. Do over. Back to one.
Oh, full start over? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I had to scroll. Okay, Stephen S. Here we go. Got it. Chief's next topic during the con call. We need to revamp the image of our re-indoctrination camps. People are comparing us with the Chi-Coms. Launch a marketing campaign. Our summer camps have hiking, canoeing, horseback riding, and a petting zoo. Sounds like might match the Canary Cry summer camp that we are throwing ideas around for.
Big year. Yep. Thank you very much, Stephen S. We also have the next in the series from Jones.
Inside the cockpit, the pilot slouches. Search, scans, and various commands fly across his red-stained HUD. He sits still, strapped in tight and silent. The scans conclude the target's probable position. The steering wheel tilts itself, willing the ship to head back inside for a sweep. The pilot sits still, strapped in tight and silent.
Wow, what a suspenseful moment. What will happen
next? The chase is on.
Yep. There you go. Thank you to all of our producers coming in with your talent. It's very welcome here.
Indeed. And if you are a person who has any ability to create art, whether it's drawings or microfictions or music or jingles or whatever, fushigi juggling, I cannot believe nobody's learned to fushigi juggle for purposes of my whims to send in the show. But whatever you do, create something for the show and then go to navigate your browser to canarycry.art. Canarycry.art, where you can upload your art to the show. It goes in our spreadsheet. We thank you for it, and we do it on the show.
Wait a minute.
I also put a button in the email. There's a very easy button in the email if you want to go to canarycry.art. And of course, if you have any articles you'd like us to consider for a show to bring on the show, you can go to canarycry.report.
I was trying to remember. I think somebody made a canarycry.art jingle recently. It was Little Owen, and it goes like this. If it works. Bummer. Hold on. It'll take a second here. Oh, no. Okay, maybe not.
Got to spin up the hard drive.
Yeah, got to bring it in.
There it is.
There
Yeah, make
go.
sure to put that on the main console there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you got anything else, or should we talk about Antarctica?
Let's. No. Hold on. I'm trying to put that jingle into the thing while we play another jingle for the next thing, which is Antarctica. Where are you, Antarctica? It's cold, Antarctica.
That's a deep question.
It's cold. Antarctica, go burn.
It's a snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice scientists are penguins.
Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
Where are you, Antarctica?
USAtoday.com. Headline: Rothschild Island named for banking family, not owned by it. Come on, fact check.
Wake up, sheeple.
Fact check. Let's go. All right. The claim: the Rothschild family owns an island in Antarctica. Talk about a straw man. On November 24th, Instagram post shows two men talking about a strange purchase supposedly made by a famous family. Quote, "Everyone knows about Epstein Island, but have you heard about Rothschild's Island?" Says one of the men. I was hoping that was not us, like just joking around, but thankfully I don't think it was. Says one of the men, referencing the wealthy Jewish Rothschild's family. They bought an island off the coast of Antarctica, end quote. The Instagram video includes a map of Antarctica and shows a small island off the coast labeled Rothschild Island. The post was
gotta love the social media fact check. You can't fact check anything important or fact check the actual details of something or fact check a real theory. You've got to always fact check some random social post so you can straw man any reference to said thing.
This post was liked more than 1,000 times in 11 days.
Whoa, more than 1,000. Is this on Instagram?
Instagram. That's pretty heavy.
TikTok, if you're only getting 1,000 likes, there's something wrong. 1,000 likes in 11 days.
11 days.
1,000 likes
100
in
likes.
11 days, and USA Today is fact checking it. That is absolutely insane. How low can we go with the fact checks on these? Dude, by that measure, they should be fact checking our Twitter.
Oh, honestly, the
bar is so low.
I feel very grateful that during my time at Face Like the Sun and doing all that, I had videos that had millions of views, and I never ended up on some random mainstream article getting debunked. I'm really thankful that it wasn't. They deleted me first. Yeah, you're right. But let's get back to this. Okay, our rating. Hold on, bud. Almost done over here. Yeah, our rating. False. Nobody owns any part of Antarctica under the terms of a 1959 treaty. Come on, it's the model for you don't own anything and be happy. That's the whole thing here. The island referenced in the post was named for a member of the Rothschild family by a French explorer in the 1900s. And then it goes into the history of island named for financier, not owned by the family. Rothschild Island is a rocky 24-mile island in Antarctica spotted by the French Antarctic expedition between 1908 and 1910. It was named by the expedition's leader, Jean-Baptiste Charcot, for Baron Edward de Rothschild, then the head of the Rothschild Brothers Bank, according to the U.S. Geological Survey.
Yeah, I'm sure that he just did it out of the kindness of his heart, too. He's just like, oh, I'm just a huge fan
of
the
Rothschild.
Rothschild Bank in France. That's the only reason I'm doing this.
The expedition named several islands during its voyage, but the Antarctic Treaty holds that no state or individual may own land that is part of Antarctica. France was one of the first signers of the treaty in 1959.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is so stupid. This is so annoying. I mean, owned, who knows? Owned. First of all, I will say this, though. The French guy who found it and named it, his expedition was paid for by the Rothschild French banker.
Yeah.
Like, so... Sure, maybe he didn't buy the island.
He didn't buy it, but he produced it.
Because you don't buy something if it doesn't belong to somebody. There is no buying Antarctica because nobody owns it. What are you going to throw the money in the ocean? There's no way to purchase something if it's not owned. He claimed it. That's how they work in Antarctica. You stake claims. Now, this is complicated for a lot of reasons. There's 6 or 7 main claims to Antarctica, but there are individual claims. There have been individuals who have claimed swaths of Antarctica. Now, they're not signing onto the treaty, so it's not like recognized, but there are individuals who have made claims to islands and sections of Antarctica. That is true. And I looked up Rothschild Island, interestingly enough, found by a French guy, paid for by the French Rothschild Bank. But the island sits on the Antarctic Peninsula. And the Antarctic Peninsula is a weird place because it is claimed simultaneously by Chile, Argentina, and Britain. It's sort of this weird overlap spot where all 3 countries have staked claim to the peninsula, and it's caused some anguish over the years. These claims, these countries take it very seriously, but the Antarctic Peninsula is the closest point by ship that you can get to Antarctica from Ushuaia, Argentina. So by land, it's the easiest place to get to. And yeah, surprise, surprise. That's why everybody's staking claims there. It is totally possible that because the Rothschild in France paid for the expedition, the French guy sailed to the island, named it after Rothschild, it is totally possible that there is some weird little claim. Yeah, sure, maybe he didn't buy it, but he paid a guy to go claim it for him. USA Today. You are an embarrassment to everyone. I'm embarrassed to have read you. No one listening to this right now is any smarter for your participation in this fact check. In fact, I can feel it. We are all noticeably dumber for having read you.
Come on. It says here the Rothschild family has been the subject of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, claiming it has influenced world events for almost 2 centuries, according to Anti-Defamation League. So, come on. Are you being anti-Semitic?
Anti-Defamation League's getting involved here. Huh?
You're anti-Semitic, Basil. You cannot speak against the Anti-Defamation League and
I thought
survive.
that would be a compliment that the Rothschilds. Why would that be? That's not anti-Semitic. That's pro-Semitic.
You're right. It should be. They have it all wrong. The
Israel
fact checkers have it all
doesn't
wrong.
work out. You can always go to Rothschild Island.
What that is an interesting point. The whole conversation with Israel, the Jewish conversation is, hey man, they control everything, and then the retort is that's anti-Semitic. But really, shouldn't it be
maybe
like,
I like it? Maybe I like it.
Maybe it should be the other way. Like, hey, take it as a compliment. You guys rule the world. Okay, so
exactly. Very impressive. I have not been able to accomplish everything the Rothschilds have.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with them.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
all right, everybody. The child's going nuts. The dog's going nuts. And that's it for today's show. Thanks for tuning in. I want to real quick thank some producers who are so very important to me, starting with the timestampers.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
That's right. The timestampers, they're very talented, very hardworking, very good looking. And for the timestamper, they timestamp the show, sometimes live. And it's not only available to all of you to search through the episode, to go directly to what you want to hear, also for research purposes. But the timestampers, hey, remember at the beginning of the show when we pulled up the clip from another show regarding the magic experts? Yeah, that's because of the timestampers. That's the only reason we were able to find it. The timestamper, I don't know if they know this, but the timestampers, their work is going into a very serious database that's being constructed. And so their work is of utmost importance. I don't want to thank Morgan E for doing the timestamps for episode 697. We appreciate it. You know, if we had thought about it for 1 second more, we probably could have pulled up who the timestamper was for episode 676, who would be the direct producer responsible for us being able to pull up that clip and solidify our prediction. Thank you to Jam for the links. Thank you to Clank. Thank you to Clank for clanking. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends. Share it with the family. Post it on your social media. Wrap it up in a nice little bow. Put it under the tree for that special someone, because there's no better gift than the gift of sanity. Don't you want your friends and family to feel just the inkling of sanity that you do after listening to this show? Yeah, I thought so. So why don't you go ahead and do that? Go. You know, it doesn't need. Christmas is not about the wrapping. It's not about the tinsel. It's not about the goobers and the boobers. I'm trying to, like the Grinch. The Grinch. Ever heard of him? That's right. It's about the simple act of giving and caring, and also the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But also give this podcast, give the gift of sanity this Christmas by wrapping up a podcast. You might think it's just some sort of ethereal digital object that you cannot hold in your hand. What is a moonbeam? Can you hold it in your hand? What is a podcast? Can you wrap it with a bow? You can. Go ahead and do it. Put it under the tree. And tell them that Santa didn't bring it to them. This is not from Santa. Other than that, folks, you know the deal. Share the show. We like to call it rattling cages. And all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the show, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Remember, folks, executive produced this month, and you can receive the Canary Cry calendar. But if that is absolutely outside of possibility for you, go to your email. If you're on the Canary Cry newsletter, if you're not, go get on the newsletter, canarycry.party, sign up there. But then there will be a button in there to sign up for the Canary Cry Pass It Forward program if an exec wants to pass their calendar forward. But y'all should just get the calendar. It's really, the idea that there is a perfect treasure that is going out to Canarians, that is uniting them on a daily basis. Just think, you and a number of other Canarians wake up in the morning, you look at the calendar, you see that it's the day that the Federal Reserve was established, and you are joined in that moment with other truth seekers and knowers in the world in sort of a silly, funny way. And then you look at the picture and you go, man, that podcast is so weird, but I'm so thankful for it. Go do that. You're not going to regret it, I guarantee. Gons, you got any last words?
2 episodes to 700.
Yeah, 700. Big time. Are we going to do a road to 777? Last time we did not execute on this fast enough, and so nobody signed up.
I'm wrestling the child.
I'll make a button.
Yeah,
I'll make a button. Hey,
right,
if you want to become a knight or a dame of the Canary Cry Round Table, or maybe you want to work towards your baronhood, there's the road to 777, which I believe the math works out to 1111 per episode between the episode 700 to episode 777. So keep an eye out for that. Get it for somebody for Christmas. All right, here we go, folks. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
The Great Reset. Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, not support.